Welcome back to Worship Guitar Lab. As you can see, we've been making some huge upgrades to the board here. More to come on that. But for today, we're going to be talking about the Hologram Microcosm. This is such a fun pedal. It's amazing. It's like nothing I've ever used before. But I did find that it was a little hard to find out how to use the thing. So I had to bust out the manual a couple of times and dig through it. But I'm hoping to solve that for you. If you're just interested in checking it out or have received one and want to learn a little bit more of how to use it, hopefully this will help you. Okay, here we are with the microcosm. My main goal today is just to kind of go through the different areas of the microcosm, get you a little more familiar with it overall. I'm going to be doing another video that goes through and plays through the different sounds that it can produce. But for now, I just wanted to do a quick one to get you familiar with all the different areas. So through here, this is sort of your main cycling knob. You can cycle through all the different presets. So you have, as you can see, micro loop section, glitch, granules, multi-delay. This section is for a looper, which we'll get to a little bit later, but for now we're going to stick to showing you the different areas of the presets. So each one, mosaic, sequence, glide, all of these have 4 settings of presets each. They have A, B, C, D, and as you can see, they've done such a cool job with the lighting here, so it really gives you good feedback of what you're trying to access here. So let's just take this one, mosaic, for example. You have A, B, C, and D. I found that as you go through, C and D are usually more extreme versions of whatever preset you're on. So if you wanted to really get crazy and sound nuts, usually C and D are going to provide that nutty sound for you. But as you can see, you simply turn this and cycle through. Just a quick note, if you want to reverse the effect that it's doing, you push down on the selector knob and see how it switches. It shows a little animation to show you're in reverse now. And you hit it again to go forward. Real simple. Your knobs here, we're going to cover these real quickly. These are sort of going to shape your different sounds that it produces for you. Activity is obviously how nutty it gets, how much feedback and activity. It's named very aptly there. This is going to adjust your sound wave. Really harsh, kind of blocky sound. You can see they have different shapes around here. I don't know if you can see that, but as you cycle through these different shapes, it's going to change the attack, basically, of the effect that's coming through. Filter, all the way to the right, is going to be no filter. And as you turn to the left, it basically adds a low pass. So it kind of rounds off, as you turn it counterclockwise, it rounds off your highs and makes the kind of the high-end parts of the effect a little less harsh and less attacky. So if you wanted to go more ambient, you could kind of play with that. Your mix, this is going to mix in your dry signal. So all the way to the left is pure guitar. All the way to the right is pure effects. So usually if you want to see what the pedal's actually doing, you kick this all the way to the right, and that's going to give you the best sense for what's going on with the pedal. Because at times you'll see it's a little hard to tell. Here you have a time controller. That does different things depending on where you are in the pedal. For your looper, when you're looping an effect, we can get to that in just a second, it'll actually speed up and slow down the loop, which is kind of incredible. When you are using it normally, this straight up and down is a 1-to-1. So everything you play, the effect comes back in a 1-to-1 way. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense yet, whereas if you go down to quarter, everything you play kind of comes back in a delayed way, if that makes sense. And then you can go all the way up to 8 times, and whatever you play gets played back at 8 times speed. So we'll show you here on the next video what that actually does. Repeats, this is how many times it repeats the effect. Depending on your settings and which preset you're on, sometimes the activity knob and the repeat knob can do different things. But in general, it's how many times it's going to repeat. Space, this is basically a reverb knob. So if you want no reverb and just all wacky effects, you're going to run that all the way to the left. If you want to add a little space and ambience, As you dial this in, it gets really, really cool. It's not a traditional reverb effect from what I found. It kind of, you know, if you wanted to go really, really ambient, add a lot of space and roll your filter back to take some of the highs off, and everything becomes very kind of floaty and ambient. It's really kind of nice. So it's nice to have that option. Loop level is how loud the effect is to some effect. Also, you'll notice that there's kind of gray text underneath some of these knobs. If you hold down this button and then turn one of these knobs, it'll change this effect. So the fade time is when you turn the pedal off, how long it continues to repeat. So if you push and hold this and change that, that will change your effect time. And once again, the lighting, it goes from dim to really bright, so that kind of helps give you a visual indication of what you're changing. Here across the front are your three main knobs. You have a tap tempo. As you can see, that's affecting the light there, and once again, visual feedback. I loved this pedal that it didn't have a whole lot of menus to dive through. There's no visual readout, which can, I guess, in some ways be bad because you don't really know what you're changing sometimes. But I like the simplicity of it. When I'm using a pedal, I want to play guitar. I don't want to menu dive and program a computer. I do enough of that for a living, so I would rather just push buttons and have it work. In the center here, this is your on-off button. So one thing I love about this is whatever preset you're on, say we're on Mosaic C, you can turn it off and you get this visual indication of what it is currently on. So when you turn it back on, you're not surprised what preset you're on. It's very obvious. Also, you can also hold an effect. So as it starts to do what it does, and it's, once again, hard to describe what this pedal does until you hear it. Once it starts doing its effect, you can hold it. You can lock it in, and as you can see, it sort of, once again, gives you that nice visual indication that that's what it's doing. That's gonna be the main things. Also, as you scroll through these different presets, it brings you to this section here called User. So what that is basically 16 banks where you can save any of these presets and tweak them to your liking, and then save it so you can recall them at any time, which is fantastic. You have 4 in red, 4 in yellow, 4 in green, and 4 in blue. So you have 16 different places to save things, which is awesome. And then it just cycles back through all the other presets. Let me show you how to save these. I don't think I have anything saved to the yellow section yet. So what I'm gonna do is just hypothetically say, you know, I like this glide C setting, right? I tweak this, I get all the settings exactly how I want them. What you're gonna do is push and hold this. And when you do that, it's gonna start blinking here. And then you're gonna scroll on over to your user presets. And I'm gonna save this to yellow B. So it says that you can see it's blinking, it's ready to save my preset. Then you're gonna push this again to hold it, and it's gonna save. And it gives you the visual indication that's writing, and now it's done. And there you go. So now you have a preset saved to that. So anytime you wanna get to it, you just scroll to yellow B, and then there you go. Your preset's loaded. You can see it also lights up glide, because that's the setting I had it on when I saved it. So that's awesome, right? Pretty cool. All right, let's get into the phase looper just a little bit. I haven't had tons of chance to play with this, but I've gotten the general gist of how to use it, so that's great. You basically turn on the looper, and as you can see, it's ready to record now. Just so you know, on the looper, each layer that you record is gonna have effects on it. It's gonna have the pedal effect. You then will just layer and layer, and as you can imagine, eventually you get to have a lot of effects going on, and it could get really busy. But it has this really awesome option for pre-effects. So what that does is just lets you loop a dry signal and then apply one set of effects to the entire loop, if that makes sense. So This is a little confusing, and I'm glad I'm getting a chance to go through this because this might save you some head scratching. So once you're in looper mode, then you get into that by pushing this. You push and hold it, pre-effects lights up, and then what you're gonna do is push the selector here, and see now pre-effects lights up, and then you push the looper button again, and now it's on. And that takes a little while to figure that out. I went through a couple of frustrating times where I couldn't figure that out quite. So hopefully that helps you. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off again. So I'll go into looper mode, push and hold it. It's blinking on pre-effects. You push this to turn it back off, and then you push your looper button. So there you go. Okay, in your looper mode, once you're ready to record something, you basically hit this to record. So now it's recording. You can see it turns red to show that it's recording. You play whatever you're gonna play, you hit stop, and then it turns green, saying that it's now captured what you've played and it's repeating it back. So right now, if there were audio coming through, it'd be repeating what I just played. You then can record another layer. You can push it again, it goes yellow, showing it's recording a second layer, and then you stop. You can hit it again, record a third layer, stop. And you can just continually do that. Once you're finished, if you want to, erase it and start over again, you just push and hold the hold button, and see, watch, it'll wipe it out. There you go. So it's erased and ready to start looping again. When you are looping, once you get something cool, if you want to see what it sounds like in reverse, it will reverse what you just played. Once you get a recorded, say I come here and I record something, it's playing it back, and I want to reverse it. It'll just completely reverse whatever you play. You can get some really cool effects. It's fun to reverse things and then play over the top of them as well. Kind of make your own backing track. So that's kind of fun. That is looping. One last area I wanted to show you before I bore you to death is the global mode. There's a series of global settings that you can change on this pedal. Things like turning on mono or stereo mode, which I did to mine. Also, there's different bypass modes. There's all kinds of MIDI settings. There's kind of global menu items that you'd need to get to, but since there's no visual LED display on how to get to them, let me show you how to do that. So what you're gonna do is push this select and loop button at the same time and hold them. As you can see, the pedal's kind of gotten real wacky and colorful, so it shows that you're in global mode now. So each of these knobs now is basically going to serve as a way to select different attributes. Changing it from mono to stereo is controlled by the activity knob, so you're going to turn that. And so now it's going to show, once you turn it, it knows which menu section you want to go into. And in the manual, it has all of the assignments to show which menu is assigned to which knob. So I know that sounds a little bit ambiguous, but input mode is controlled by the activity knob, and you can just reference the manual for which one controls what. Because you're really not going to need to get in here very often. It's just to set up your pedal for the first time. As you can see, I am now in stereo mode, and in the manual it shows one block would be mono and 2 blocks would be stereo. So then you would just use this to change that. And then once you have that selected, you hit enter, and now I'm back into mono. And then to save that and get out of here, you'd push and hold these again. I don't want to stay in mono, I want to keep mine stereo. So I turn that knob, it shows that I'm now in stereo. And then I'm going to push and hold these and get back out of the menu. And there we go. That is the global mode. And you can just look in the manual for all the different things. Another one that I really recently changed that I really liked is the buffered bypass. That's controlled with the space knob. So once again, we'll go into global mode. We'll turn space, and we'll show you we're on the second selection for that, which is a buffered bypass with trails. So that means when I turn the pedal off, it continues to play the effect for a given amount of time. And that given amount of time is set with your fade time here. So, and then to change that, you push and hold this, turn this up or down, and that'll increase or decrease your fade time. So I liked the trail mode because as you can see, and as you will see, this pedal's very active. So it gets to do a lot of things. So as it's doing those things and you go to turn off the pedal, it just cuts you off. And so it sounds really abrupt. I liked the idea that it would continue to play the effects for just a little while and kind of crossfade them out into whatever else I was playing. So this mode is with trails, and you can also change it to that's no trails, that's with trails, and then true bypass, where you turn it off and immediately bypasses the pedal. So I did buffered bypass with trails. So that is that. I'll select that setting and then push both of these to get out of global mode. And there you are. Well, there you have it. I hope that was a little helpful. If you have the Microcosm and needed a quick start and how to use this thing, I hope that was helpful and valuable to you. Next up, we're going to be doing a playthrough of the whole pedal, so you'll get to hear some craziness. It's going to be fun. So hope you join us for that. Thank you so much.